How would it be if you could actually not only pay off all your student debt, but then become a millionaire in just 7 years? Is that too good to be true? Not for Rose Han. So let's talk about that today. Hello, my fellow Ripplers. This is Chris Miles, your cash flow expert and anti-financial advisor. This show is for you, especially if you want to become work optional, where you work because you want to, not because you have to. And if you want to live a rich life, not just get rich, because you want to be able to not just become financially free, but you want to be able to take that freedom, you want to take that stewardship and that prosperity and use it to also bless the lives of those around you. And that is exactly what we're here to do today. Thank you for tuning in for the last 11 plus years on this show. You guys have been binging, you've been sharing these episodes, and because of it, guys, our ripple effect is able to be created. So thank you so much for doing so. As a reminder, if you haven't done so already, be sure to leave us a rating, leave us a review, whether you're listening on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. Unless you think we suck, then please don't leave a review because I don't want that either. So you can move on your merry way. But for those of you that love this show, please leave a review. All right, guys. So like I said, I'm so excited to have on here with us Rose Han today, former Wall Street trader, now turned financial educator, YouTuber. She's also author of the new book that's just releasing this week called At a Zero that you guys got to check out. Not only is she first generation Korean American, but man, she had paid off that student debt, like I mentioned, became a millionaire in 7 years, and used that wise stewardship principles to help her become financially free as well. And now she's helping millennials all the time be able to really get out of this outdated advice that we talk about and rip on the show anyways, and really create that rich, fulfilling life that we always talk about. And so as a result, we got Rose here with us. So Rose, welcome to our show.
Hi, thanks for having me on. Super excited to chat.
Yeah, for sure. So you got to tell us the backstory, right? Like, as I know from my experience, like my favorite clients are Asian Americans because they are like the best savers in the world, right? But I mean, obviously you've got your own spin on it too. Like what kind of led you down this path, especially not just, saving, but ultimately living rich and free.
hmm Yeah, so as you said, I grew up Asian American and my parents instilled in me good old immigrant values, work
Mhm.
hard, study hard, get a good education. And my goal was to get into college, get a high paying job. To me, I thought everything I want will be on the other side of that. So I enrolled in college and was gonna go to NYU, and my parents were really proud. But there was always a little streak of rebel in me that kind of knew there was more for me out there. So before my first year of college, I actually took a gap year to go traveling around the world. And I had money from waiting tables and, did an au pair and kind of bootstrapped that year of travel. But it was my first taste of freedom, something a little bit outside of the norm of the regular path.
Mhm.
And so I had this whole kind of image of freedom in mind, but I didn't know any other way to get there other than exactly what I'm supposed to do, which is get a good job, go to school, and all of that. So I do the whole college thing. I even graduate top of my class and get a really high paying job on Wall Street. But at 23, I was six figures in debt. And despite having this amazing high paying job, I was living paycheck to paycheck and had no freedom whatsoever. And just the contrast of what I always thought my life would be like versus how it actually turned out, that's what really got me started on this journey of what do I really need to do for financial freedom? Because what I've done, what everyone else is doing it really hasn't worked. I was extremely disillusioned and honestly felt like kind of a failure. But what I realized is from learning and really taking charge of getting the financial education that we should have gotten but never got, I realized it's because we just didn't learn it. We didn't learn the right things. So, yeah, there really is a set of steps, a set of principles to live by, and you can create financial freedom. And that's why I do what I do. It was very empowering for me to like unlock the secret, which is it's a little bit gate kept. It's like some people just never got the memo, while other people are able to create financial freedom and they're doing all the right things. So I'm really passionate about spreading that kind of word.
Yeah, I love it. We're right there with you. Now, I have to ask you, I mean, going from taking that year off of school, that sabbatical, to then all of a sudden working Wall Street, which is to me like the opposite lifestyle. I mean, how is that contrast for you?
Yeah, I actually, it's surprising, but I think what the commonality there was I liked adventure and newness. And I
Mhm.
thought working on Wall Street, I was working on the trading floor.
Mhm.
So it was a little bit different from your typical just cubicle job. Like you're
Yeah.
around other
There's a lower
people.
shelf life on that job.
Oh, that also. It's like very exciting, but a little too exciting. So it's super stressful too.
Mhm.
Yeah. So for the first year or two, it was extremely interesting and fun. But I remember there was this kind of clear moment when I started seeing myself as not wanting to be there for the long term. I heard my managing director get off the phone and he was very successful at the top of, that career, wearing a Rolex and really nice cufflinks. And he got off the phone with his wife who would call him every day and give updates on the kids. And he
Mhm.
was like, "Man, like when am I ever gonna be able to stop working?" And that was
Mhm.
just that was like that was a very kind of disappointing moment because I thought, but I'm trying to be like him. Like I'm gonna climb the ladder so I can make a ton of money like him, and then
You just saw
hope
your
to be
future.
free one day. But he's not free. He just said
Yeah.
that he doesn't even want to be there. So yeah, from and that combined with the fact that I was starting to not enjoy the career, and I really think no matter what you do, you should never just do things just for the money. You should also enjoy it. So
Yes.
all those things being combined, I quit my job and started looking for another route.
Yeah. And so what was that route? Like what was the thing that really clicked for you?
I wish I could say it clicked quickly and I found my new thing, but I actually took a good, I'd say 4 or 5 years of meandering. So
Mhm.
that I really want people to hear that part because you'll have to make sometimes hard decisions that don't necessarily make sense to the outside world, definitely not to your parents if, they're concerned about job security, or even sometimes to yourself. I just knew something in me knew that I could not keep doing work that I didn't love, that life was too short to live that way just for a paycheck. And also, I could just intuitively see that climbing this ladder wasn't going to get me the freedom that I wanted. I just
Mhm.
had to find something else. I don't know how, but I just knew it wasn't that. So I quit with some savings. I'm responsible. So I got my bonus, had a little cushion for a period of fun employment. And that basically started a 5 year meandering journey of trying out different jobs. I even applied to be a cocktail waitress at a rooftop bar where my old Wall Street colleagues would go to for happy hour. It's just whatever it took to make things work in that time.
Mhm.
And then eventually, after many years of being too scared to do it, I finally started my YouTube channel to start sharing my financial journey. And even though I didn't go into it with the goal of that becoming the thing that helps me really create exponential financial freedom, that I think me like pursuing my interest and sharing what I wanted to share with the world, that eventually turned into a very lucrative business. So I
Yeah.
think some interesting takeaways in there are if you just chase the money, you're gonna burn out. You're not gonna enjoy yourself, and then it probably won't work because you're gonna stop. But if you put passion and interest first and kind of follow your curiosity and be strategic about the money part, obviously, don't be a
Mhm.
starving artist. But if you follow those sort of breadcrumbs, it'll lead somewhere interesting and lead to ultimate financial freedom, which is where you enjoyed how you got there and you didn't sacrifice your life for money.
Yeah. And I know that really resonates with, especially with the millennial generation. I know that's kind of been like your thing, right? I know that's big because even though money still is important, that's not everything, especially for your generation there. Which I see that as direct contrast to like a Caleb Hammer, right? Where that guy is just gonna bring you on. He's like the millennial version of Dave Ramsey, but he's way more blunt, right? Dave
Yeah.
Ramsey's softened over time. Caleb Hammer's like, dude, you're too soft. I need to rip on people now. So what do you feel like is missing out there today? Because there's still a lot of people up and coming that are trying to teach about finance. But what do you feel like is different from what you teach today?
Mm. I I kind of came onto this unintentionally, but I think
Mhm.
why people like my content and learning from me is because I talk more about not just money, but about life and what that money is for.
Yeah.
And do things showcase what freedom could really look like because we do have this societal view that being rich is having a nice car and a big house,
Hmm.
sort of having these status symbols and looking rich. But when I reached millionaire status, the first thing I rewarded myself with was a camper van. And yes, of
Uh-huh.
course, it cost six figures. It was expensive. It's a nice camper van, but that's like the opposite of what you think a millionaire would do.
Uh-huh.
But but really, I had the goods to back it up. Like if you looked at my net worth, even though I'm wearing ripped jeans and driving around this camper van,
Yeah.
I was a millionaire because I had the assets and income to not have to work and just adventure around in this camper van. And I think that for some reason resonated with people. I was just showing my life, but yeah, it's like carving out your own definition of what you want your life to be, doing your own thing, like deviating from the status quo,
Mhm.
those kind of things. I think that's what really resonated.
So you didn't have to flash like show like you stepping onto a private plane or you're driving that nice Lambo or anything like that. You didn't have to do all that stuff.
Oh, no. Vomit, vomit.
What would be something that like maybe your followers, especially if they watch like Instagram or TikTok and they see your shorts and whatnot, what would you say is something that is not always expressed about you if people just watch your shorts? Like what would you say about there's something about you that's different than what most people perceive you to be?
Ooh, good question. Like what do I not show? What side of me do I not show in my content?
Yeah, and I don't mean like something like dirty and scandalous. I mean just like, is there ever a point you'll say, I wish people would stop thinking I'm this way, but I'm really this way. What would that be?
Hmm. I feel like I try to show this in my content, but I
Mhm.
really want to emphasize nobody ever has it figured out completely. I do
Mm,
teach about money and I know a lot of things, but every level has its new challenges. So as a millionaire, now like I've never been a millionaire, so I've never invested and managed this much money before. There's a lot of tax considerations. So
mhm.
I've even at this level, I've screwed up a lot. Like I've made mistakes. I've lost some money. And the mistakes are different from when I was in debt and living paycheck to paycheck and a
Right.
complete mess in that area. But and I wouldn't say I'm a complete mess now, but I'm not perfect.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I think that's something important for people to know. Nobody ever has it all figured out. Even the people who like Dave Ramsey and they sound super confident and like they're telling people what to do with their money, but he's figuring stuff out for himself too.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's something I'd want people to know.
Well, definitely our listeners and followers here would understand that since they've heard me go broke twice, during the last 25 years and come back stronger each time. So, no, I get that. We don't judge you at all. In fact, that's probably one of the things that we love on this channel is that when we're real about it, right? It's like, hey, this is what I learned. Because often I know for myself, the mistakes is usually how I learned the best principles, right? Like I
Hmm.
went broke like Dave Ramsey did, but despite all that, I never came out with some of the same philosophies because my perspective was different. I didn't come as hardcore. I came off with more empathy versus judgment.
Yeah, and I think that approach is actually really missing in financial advice, that
Hmm.
empathy aspect. I
Yeah.
started realizing this when teaching online and I would talk at people about all these tips and how to invest and what index funds to buy.
Hmm.
But then I started sprinkling in encouragement, like kind of getting people to be brave enough to buy their first investment. And a lot of people during COVID who started following and investing because of me, they write me every day. Some people have written and said this one girl reached 1 million net worth because she started investing in 2020 because of me encouraging her and really addressing that fear that people have of just pulling the trigger and potentially losing money. Like that's really the hump you have to get people past, all the emotional blocks that stop them from doing what they know that they
So
should
true.
do.
If you've been following this podcast, you're probably looking for great ways to create passive income right now, right? Well, we got you covered here with Central Lending. Central Lending specializes in alternative investments that actually are designed to create steady returns and long-term financial security for you and your family. Now, they prioritize transparency. They love, building those strong relationships, giving you that confidence and peace of mind, knowing that you have your money working harder for you, so you don't have to work so hard for that money. You want to learn more how to do that? Go to centrallending.com and check out what they've got today to create your passive income and wealth creation right now. That's so true. I tell people on this channel all the time, strategy is easy. It's the mind that gets in the way, right? It's the mindset behind it. It's so hard to do.
Oh my God, 100%. And especially for your listeners and also a lot of my followers, they're
Hmm.
all smart people. Just
Yeah.
just like me. I went to really good college and worked on Wall Street. I have no shortage of smartness, but it's all the other stuff that's what really gets in the way. And I would even say the smarter you are, the harder it gets because you have
Mhm.
more analysis paralysis because you know too much. So that could even get in the way sometimes.
That's for sure. Yep. Well, good. Well, let me ask you about At a Zero. Like, tell us about this book. Like, what's the premise behind this book? Why would somebody want to read this?
Yeah, first of all, I feel incredibly lucky and it's just a pinch me moment that I get to pay it forward because, like I
Mhm.
said, the financial education that I never got in school but sought out on my own, that all happened through books, reading books. And I'm sure everyone listening knows the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert
Mhm.
Kiyosaki. That's like the gateway personal finance book. And while it opened up my eyes and was completely life-changing, I didn't find that it was very actionable for where I was at. I was six figures in debt and afraid to look at my bank account and afraid to add up my totals of what I owed and who I owed it to. Like that's where I
Mhm.
was. So reading Robert Kiyosaki's ideas about other people's money and expanding, what's that? He has like expanding your context instead of your content and a lot
Mhm.
of amazing ideas that are life-changing, but not like helpful for what to actually do right now.
Yeah.
So, looking back on my journey of going from six figures in debt to millionaire in 7 years, I look back and see it really happened in phases. There were specific actions I had to do at each phase and specific sort of mindset upgrades I had to do at each level and had to do it in that right order. And that's how I was able to do it in 7 years and not in 20 or 30. So I wrote this book to be like a zero by zero, step by step playbook that will get you from where you are now to your first million.
That's awesome. And who would you say is like the best person that would want to read this book?
I would say the best person, well, I wrote it for two people in mind. The person who
Mhm.
is kind of like where I started is in debt, and the idea of a million doesn't even seem remotely achievable, but they just want a step-by-step guide to get there.
Yeah.
But that meets them right where they're at right now in debt. The other person is maybe someone who's managed to save up 10, $100,000 and wants to know how to break through to the next level.
Mhm.
Because I mean, I wouldn't say getting to your 100,000, first 100,000 is easy, but if you're a high earner and you have some good basic budgeting saving skills and you use tax efficient accounts like 401ks, you can get there fairly quickly, in your 30s or early 40s. But then to break through to million, there's a different level of thinking. You have to start
Mhm.
thinking exponential income, how to leverage your time and make money exponentially and have money work for you and shift out of the working for money mindset. So also it would also be good for someone like that.
Well, that basically just describes a lot of our audience right there.
Yeah.
Just because we were literally talking about how do you get your money work for you instead of you work so hard for that money, right? And that's such a big desire that I know a lot of people have. And you're right. Like I remember I was over $1 million in debt, in the last global financial crisis, having to dig out of that by 2016 to become financially free. And that's hard. Like that's such a hard mental game to overcome because if you're in debt, like you said, even just getting the zero feels like a win, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, and that's why I've broken my book into several parts. And the first part is getting to zero.
Hmm.
Getting to zero. You have to get to zero before you can get to 10,000, then
Definitely.
getting to 100,000 and getting to a million. But yeah, I mean, getting to zero is the first step. And I would say it gets easier after that. The
Hmm.
hardest part is getting started, like getting over that initial fear of facing your numbers and taking charge of your life and knowing that you can do it. So, so yeah, that's crazy that you were a million in debt. I did not know that.
Yeah, I know. It's like you said, I'm an OG, right? So I've
Yeah.
had plenty of time to screw up. And that was after I retired the first time. So go figure.
Wow. Definitely want to
But
hear that
but
story
that's
sometime.
that's the thing I think it's amazing about your story though. Like it's I mean, and I know I kind of feel this theme with your book. It seems like really people almost have like a different set of mindset and skill set that goes each step along the way. Like you can't just keep doing the same things. You have to almost evolve with it. Is that correct?
Yeah, and do things when it's due time. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to think about making exponential income and investing before you have your emergency fund and before you've gotten the
Right.
habit of keeping some of what you make by optimizing your expenses and being conscious of what's coming in versus out. yeah, like nowadays entrepreneurship is really sexy. Everyone wants to start a business, but they don't even have an emergency fund and they
Right.
still have student loans that they have on interest only and like think it's okay to just keep carrying that indefinitely.
Mhm.
But then you're not really building a great financial foundation for when you start making more money.
Do you get a lot of those questions where people say, I got my first 5,000. What do I do with it? You're like, nothing. I don't know. Do you
Just
ever get
keep
that kind of
it.
question?
I don't think so, but a lot of times people will ask me like really advanced questions about options and investing, but I'm like, but have you done the basics? Have
Yeah.
you, started a high yield savings account and do you have 6 months of emergency fund in there? Like, don't even worry about investing and making that extra 8 to 10% return in the market if you have all these bills that you could easily negotiate and quickly make by finding like another 100, $200 in your budget,
Yeah.
or before you've negotiated pay raise. And yeah, there's like some basic easy wins you can do before you get into all that advanced stuff.
Right. Well, before I ask you the final question, one last question on the book here is what would be a concept in that book that might surprise people? Like they might think, oh, it's another financial book, but you're like, nope, I'm going to throw a curve at you here. What would that be?
I'll have to think about this one because there's a few that are my favorite. So something that would surprise people that it's in a financial book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, chapter 10, I have to say I almost didn't have chapter 10 in there. Like when I wrote the book, I basically stopped at investing as the last step.
Hmm.
But then when I really thought about it, I realized actually what it's great to invest and a lot of books stop there. But I always felt like something was missing because it's you can only invest as much as you earn. And a
Hmm.
lot of finance books weren't really addressing how to make way more money so that you could invest $100,000 instead of $1,000. And
Yeah.
like all the steps that I talk about in chapters 1 through 9, those are all important. Negotiating your pay, budgeting, saving. But what's really going to change your life quickly, not in 30 years, but in five,
Hmm.
is understanding the concept of leverage. And
Mm.
Robert Kiyosaki explains this, but he uses it more, he kind of refers to leverage in the sense of debt. But what I'm talking about is learning how to make money exponentially, where for 1 hour of your time, you make what you used to make in 1 hour. But I'm sorry, with 1 hour of your time, you can make what a lot of people make. I'm sorry,
In a
I'm
day or a
screwing up.
week, something like that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, cause if you keep trading time for money, you'll only ever make linear income, and then the growth is very, very slow, and you'll invest 500 a month and maybe 5,000 a month if you're a really high earner, but it's always linear, linear, linear. But if you figure out how to break free of trading time for money
Mhm.
and unlock the 3 levels of leverage, which I go into in my book, there's 1 to 1, that's trading time for money. 1 to many, which is where you're serving multiple people at once and multiplying your time. And then there's 1 to infinity. That's where you transcend time. And
Mm.
that's kind of what I accidentally stumbled on when I started my YouTube channel and started selling online courses with 1 hour, or I mean, it's more like 100 hours. It all takes a lot of work up front.
Mhm.
But later on, I was able to generate lots of business income pretty passively for many years from just those initial hours of work. And now looking back, I realized I was able to get to 100,000 without this, just saving and budgeting all those things, paying off my debt. But what got me from 100,000 to a million very quickly is being able to pull out hundreds of thousands of dollars out of my business and then invest it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I felt like
That
I was
leverage.
doing, yeah, leverage, just in like thinking in terms of leveraging your time.
I
And
love that.
investment income, we love investment income because that's also the ultimate form of leverage where you've transcended time and you just have a dollar invested that's an employee working for you forever and ever and ever without you ever having to lift a finger. So yeah, I felt like I was really doing people a disservice if I didn't explain this part. Like I was sort of outlining a very regular financial book and it was inspired by other financial books I read, but I realized this is the piece that will really unlock something for people.
I completely agree. That's something that most books you see are always about minimizing, right? And just doing that methodical save. And I call it save and slave mentality, right?
Mm.
Boy, you're talking about like, here's this multiplier. That's something that can actually, even if you were trying to do that mentality, you're going to realize pretty quickly you can accelerate it way faster in way less years than you would just trying to do the worn out, beaten old path that everybody else has told you to do, right?
Heck yeah. Yeah, and it's a completely different skill set and mindset to be able to unlock that. Like the employee mindset is very much instant gratification. And actually, it feels safe because it's a guarantee that you will get paid for your time.
Mhm.
You show up for work, you get paid in 2 weeks. Show up for work, get paid in 2 weeks. But to unlock exponential leverage with your income, you have to put a lot of time up front and then the payoff happens exponentially at the end, but there's no guarantee in the meantime. And so it takes a lot of faith and vision and quite frankly passion in what you're doing. So you can stick with it long enough to see those exponential returns at the end. And yeah, I feel like that's the main challenge for people who are high income employees to make that jump, to go from to go from certainty to uncertainty.
Yeah. Love it. Well, where would be the best place for them to find this book? Where can they order it, find it online? What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so you can find it on anywhere books are sold. Amazon's the best place.
Mhm.
Or if you want some really cool pre-order bonuses, I'm sorry, order bonuses because this is book's already out by now. You can go to addazero.com. And I'm also at It's Rose Han on all socials.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll be sure to put that on the show notes because I know everybody's going to want to follow you. Definitely want to see your stuff and get your book too. So, again, you've been very generous with your time. I have one final question for you before I let you go. As you know, it's the Money Ripples podcast, right? We talk about that ripple effect you create in people's lives. So, Rose, what do you feel is your ripple effect you're here to create?
I really feel like my ripple effect is to remind people to have more fun. Follow the fun, follow the passion, follow your joy. Don't worry so much about the money part, like that's secondary. As long as you're having fun and following that, it will work out.
I love it. That's a great answer. Well, Rose, you definitely embody that. Really appreciate having you on today. So generous of your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I had fun.
And everybody else, be sure to go get Add a Zero right now. Check that out, whether you're doing it through Amazon or through our website we have here in the show notes for you guys today. But remember, you can listen to these podcasts all day long and you can even watch her YouTube videos and stuff. And that's good too. But remember, ultimately, it comes down to what are you going to do about it? So be sure to go and make it a wonderful and prosperous week. We'll see you later.